8 Ways Kindness Can Ruin Your Life. Stoicism. Part 1. Kindness is one of the most admired qualities in human nature. People praise it, celebrate it, and encourage it from childhood. We are taught that being kind makes us good people and helps create a better world. While there is truth in that idea, there is also a side of kindness that few people are willing to discuss. Kindness without wisdom can become a source of suffering. It can slowly destroy your peace, drain your energy, and leave you feeling used by the very people you tried to help. The Stoic philosophers understood that every virtue must be balanced by reason. Courage without wisdom becomes recklessness. Confidence without humility becomes arrogance. In the same way, kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Many people spend years believing they are doing the right thing by constantly sacrificing for others. They say yes when they want to say no. They tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. They carry responsibilities that belong to someone else. Eventually, they discover that endless kindness often earns exploitation rather than appreciation. If this message resonates with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we explore timeless Stoic wisdom that helps you become stronger, calmer, and more resilient in a chaotic world. By subscribing, you join a community dedicated to self-mastery and personal growth. One of the greatest dangers of excessive kindness is that it attracts manipulators. Not everyone enters your life with good intentions. Some people look for individuals who struggle to establish boundaries. They quickly recognize those who feel guilty for saying no. Once they identify such a person, they begin making requests. At first, those requests seem harmless. A favor here. A small sacrifice there. But over time, the demands increase. Manipulative people understand that kind individuals often fear disappointing others. They use guilt, pressure, and emotional tactics to get what they want. The kind person believes they are helping. The manipulator sees an opportunity. This cycle continues until the kind person feels exhausted and resentful. The Stoics taught that your duty is not to satisfy every demand placed upon you. Your duty is to act according to reason and virtue. A wise person understands that helping others should never require abandoning self-respect. The ability to say no is not cruelty. It is wisdom. Another way kindness can ruin your life is by causing you to neglect yourself. Many people become so focused on meeting the needs of others that they completely ignore their own. They give away their time, energy, attention, and emotional resources without considering the costs. Eventually, they find themselves burned out and depleted. Imagine trying to fill everyone else's cup while your own remains empty. At first, you may feel noble. You may even receive praise for your generosity. But eventually, exhaustion takes over. You become frustrated. You lose motivation. You begin questioning why nobody seems willing to help you in return. The Stoics believed that self-care was essential for fulfilling one's responsibilities. You cannot effectively contribute to the world if you are constantly drained. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. A person who neglects their own well-being eventually loses the strength required to help anyone. Kindness can also damage your self-respect when it becomes a tool for seeking approval. Many people perform acts of kindness because they desperately want to be liked. They fear rejection. They fear criticism. They fear being viewed as selfish. As a result, they constantly adjust their behavior to satisfy others. This creates a dangerous pattern. Instead of acting according to personal values, they begin living according to external expectations. Their happiness becomes dependent on the opinions of others. Every compliment feels like validation. Every criticism feels like a personal attack. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the opinions of others are outside our control. The Stoic path requires inner stability. When your identity depends on pleasing everyone around you, you surrender control of your emotional well-being. True kindness comes from strength, not from a desperate desire for acceptance. Another hidden danger is that excessive kindness often attracts disrespect. This may sound unfair, but human nature frequently mistakes unlimited tolerance for weakness. When people realize there are no consequences for crossing your boundaries, many will continue pushing further. Think about the person who constantly lends money without expecting repayment. Think about the employee who always accepts extra work without complaint. Think about the friend who never speaks up when treated unfairly. These individuals may believe they are being kind, yet many people begin taking them for granted. Respect is built through balance. The strongest people are often compassionate, but they are also firm. They know when to help and when to walk away. They know when to listen and when to speak. Their kindness is supported by strength rather than fear. The Stoics understood that peace does not come from avoiding conflict at all costs. Sometimes peace requires confrontation. Sometimes peace requires saying no. Sometimes peace requires walking away from relationships that repeatedly violate your values. Kindness can also keep you trapped in unhealthy relationships. Many people remain loyal to individuals who repeatedly hurt them. They excuse bad behavior. They justify disrespect. They continue giving chances long after those chances have been earned. They tell themselves they are being compassionate. In reality, they are teaching others that poor treatment will be tolerated. Compassion should never require accepting abuse. Forgiveness does not mean allowing harmful behavior to continue indefinitely. A Stoic recognizes that every relationship should be guided by mutual respect. If someone consistently harms your well-being, distance may be necessary. Protecting your peace is not an act of hatred. It is an act of wisdom. As you reflect on these lessons, ask yourself a simple question. Has your kindness been guided by wisdom, or has it been driven by fear? Have you been helping others from a place of strength, or have you been sacrificing yourself to gain approval? The answers may be uncomfortable, but discomfort often marks the beginning of growth. The Stoic path is not about becoming cold or uncaring. It is about learning to combine compassion with strength. It is about helping others without losing yourself in the process. If you are finding value in this message, subscribe to the channel and join thousands of viewers committed to mastering Stoic wisdom. Your support helps this community grow and allows us to continue sharing powerful lessons that can transform your life. Part 2. Another way kindness can ruin your life is by making you carry burdens that were never yours to carry. Many people develop a habit of solving everyone else's problems. Whenever a friend struggles, they rush to help. Whenever a family member makes a mistake, they step in to fix it. Whenever a coworker falls behind, they volunteer to take on extra responsibilities. At first, this behavior feels noble. You feel useful. You feel needed. But over time, something dangerous happens. People begin expecting you to carry their burdens. Instead of learning responsibility, they become dependent on your willingness to rescue them. The Stoics believe that every individual is responsible for their own actions. Helping others can be virtuous, but constantly rescuing people from the consequences of their choices prevents growth. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is allowing them to learn from their mistakes. When you carry responsibilities that belong to others, your own life begins to suffer. Your goals are delayed. Your energy is depleted. Your peace disappears. You become trapped in a cycle where everyone benefits except you. Excessive kindness can also make you afraid of conflict. Many people believe that being kind means keeping everyone happy. They avoid difficult conversations because they fear hurting someone's feelings. They remain silent when they witness unfair treatment. They suppress their opinions to avoid disagreement. Unfortunately, avoiding conflict rarely creates peace. More often, it creates resentment. Every time you stay silent when something matters, a small amount of frustration builds inside you. Over weeks, months, and years, that frustration grows stronger. Eventually, the pressure becomes unbearable. What could have been resolved through an honest conversation becomes a major emotional explosion. The very conflict you tried to avoid becomes much worse. Stoicism teaches that courage is essential. Courage does not mean seeking arguments. It means speaking the truth when necessary. It means defending your values with calm confidence. It means accepting temporary discomfort to preserve long-term peace. Kindness without courage often becomes weakness. Kindness with courage becomes wisdom. Many people also discover that excessive kindness causes them to lose their identity. When you spend years trying to satisfy everyone around you, you begin forgetting who you truly are. Your decisions become based on what others want rather than what you value. You start choosing activities you do not enjoy. You agree with opinions you do not share. You sacrifice dreams that matter to you because someone else disapproves. Little by little, your authentic self disappears. This process is often gradual. You may not even notice it happening. One day, however, you wake up feeling disconnected from your own life. You realize that most of your choices have been made for the benefit of others. The Stoics encouraged self-examination. They regularly reflected on their actions, motivations, and priorities. They understood that a meaningful life requires living according to personal principles rather than external pressure. A person who loses their identity eventually loses their sense of purpose. They become trapped in a life that feels empty because it was designed to satisfy everyone except themselves. Another hidden danger of excessive kindness is emotional exhaustion. Every human being has limited emotional energy. Listening to others, helping others, and supporting others all require effort. When those efforts are balanced, relationships thrive. When they become one-sided, burnout becomes inevitable. Many kind people become emotional dumping grounds for everyone around them. Friends bring them every problem. Family members bring them every crisis. Co-workers bring them every complaint. Because they care deeply, they absorb the emotional weight of everyone they encounter. Over time, this creates overwhelming stress. The mind becomes crowded with worries that do not belong to it. Anxiety increases. Happiness decreases. Even simple daily activities begin to feel exhausting. The Stoics understood the importance of emotional discipline. They recognized that while we can support others, we cannot carry the emotional responsibility for every person we meet. Each individual must learn to manage their own thoughts and reactions. Protecting your emotional energy is not selfish. It is necessary for maintaining inner peace. Excessive kindness can also prevent personal growth. Growth often requires taking risks, pursuing opportunities, and prioritizing long-term goals. However, people who constantly place others first frequently abandon their own ambitions. Perhaps they postpone starting a business because someone needs their help. Perhaps they delay pursuing education because they feel guilty focusing on themselves. Perhaps they avoid moving to a new city because others might be disappointed. Years pass. Opportunities disappear. Dreams remain unfinished. The tragedy is that many of these sacrifices are never truly appreciated. The people you prioritize may move on with their lives while you remain stuck wondering what could have been. The Stoics taught that life is short. Every day is precious. Every moment wasted can never be recovered. This does not mean ignoring others. It means recognizing that your own life matters too. You were not placed on this earth solely to fulfill the expectations of other people. You have your own purpose. You have your own responsibilities. You have your own path to walk. One of the most painful consequences of excessive kindness is resentment. This often surprises people because resentment seems incompatible with kindness. Yet the two are closely connected. When you consistently give more than you receive, frustration begins to grow. At first, you ignore it. You tell yourself that helping others is the right thing to do. But deep down, part of you notices the imbalance. You notice who only calls when they need something. You notice who never offers support in return. You notice who takes your generosity for granted. Eventually, bitterness develops. Relationships that once brought joy become sources of irritation. Acts of kindness begin to feel like obligations rather than choices. The solution is not becoming selfish. The solution is creating healthy boundaries. Genuine generosity can only exist when it is freely chosen. If giving leaves you resentful, something is out of balance. The Stoic understands that virtue requires moderation. Too little kindness creates cruelty. Too much kindness without wisdom creates suffering. Balance is the key. As you reflect on your own life, consider where your kindness has served you and where it may have harmed you. Have you allowed people to take advantage of your generosity? Have you neglected your own needs in an effort to satisfy everyone else? Have you confused self-sacrifice with virtue? These questions are not meant to create guilt. They are meant to create awareness. Awareness is the first step toward transformation. Remember that Stoicism does not teach indifference. It teaches intelligent compassion. It teaches strength guided by wisdom. It teaches kindness that uplifts rather than destroys. If these lessons are helping you see your life more clearly, subscribe to the channel and join our growing community. Together, we explore timeless principles that build resilience, confidence, and inner peace in a world full of distractions and pressures. Part 3. There is another danger that few people recognize until it is too late. Excessive kindness often teaches people to underestimate your value. Human beings naturally appreciate what they must work for. Unfortunately, when your time, attention, and effort are always available, others may stop recognizing their worth. Think about the people who are constantly available for everyone. They answer every call. They respond to every request. They cancel their own plans whenever someone needs help. At first, people may express gratitude. But eventually, many begin treating that generosity as normal. The problem is not kindness itself. The problem is the absence of boundaries. When you never establish limits, people assume unlimited access to your time and energy. They stop viewing your help as a gift and start viewing it as an obligation. The Stoics believe that every person should value their most precious resource, time. Money can be earned again. Opportunities can sometimes return. Time never comes back. Every hour spent solving problems that are not yours is an hour that cannot be recovered. Wise kindness requires intentionality. Before agreeing to help, ask yourself whether the request aligns with your values and priorities. Helping others should be a choice, not an automatic reaction. Another hidden consequence of excessive kindness is disappointment. Many people expect others to treat them the same way they treat everyone else. They assume that generosity will be returned. They believe loyalty will be rewarded with loyalty. They expect sacrifice to inspire gratitude. Sometimes that happens. Often it does not. One of the most painful lessons in life is realizing that not everyone thinks the way you do. Not everyone values kindness. Not everyone appreciates sacrifice. Some people simply take what they can get and move on. This realization can create tremendous disappointment. The kind person begins asking questions. Why am I always the one giving? Why do I support everyone else while nobody supports me? Why do people disappear when I need help? The Stoics warned against attaching happiness to outcomes beyond our control. You can control your actions. You cannot control the actions of others. Kindness should be offered because it reflects your character, not because you expect repayment. However, this does not mean accepting one-sided relationships forever. Wisdom requires recognizing patterns. If someone repeatedly takes without giving, it may be time to create distance. Another way kindness can ruin your life is by making you vulnerable to emotional manipulation. Some individuals become experts at using guilt. They know exactly which words to use. They know how to trigger your compassion. They know how to make you feel responsible for their problems. These individuals often present themselves as victims. Every challenge becomes an emergency. Every difficulty becomes your responsibility. Every consequence becomes something you are expected to solve. At first, you may feel sympathy. Over time, however, you become trapped in a cycle of emotional dependency. You feel guilty whenever you prioritize yourself. You feel selfish whenever you establish boundaries. You feel responsible for circumstances that were never yours to manage. The Stoics understood that each person is responsible for their own judgments and choices. Compassion is valuable, but responsibility has limits. You can support others without carrying their entire life on your shoulders. One of the greatest acts of self-respect is recognizing where your responsibility ends and another person's responsibility begins. Many people also discover that excessive kindness weakens their decision-making. They become so concerned with how others might react that they struggle to make choices that serve their own interests. A job opportunity appears, but they hesitate because someone might feel abandoned. A new relationship begins, but they ignore warning signs because they do not want to hurt anyone's feelings. A major life decision must be made, but they prioritize approval over truth. The result is a life governed by external expectations rather than personal conviction. Stoicism teaches the importance of reason. Decisions should be guided by wisdom and principles, not by fear of disapproval. Every meaningful life requires difficult choices. Every significant achievement demands the courage to disappoint someone. You cannot build a fulfilling life if every decision is filtered through the question, will everyone be happy with this? The answer will almost always be no. A truly stoic individual accepts this reality. They understand that criticism is inevitable. Disappointment is unavoidable. Trying to satisfy everyone is impossible. Instead, they focus on living honorably and acting according to reason. As you continue reflecting on your own life, consider where your kindness has become excessive. Consider where generosity has turned into self-neglect. Consider where compassion has transformed into weakness. Remember that Stoicism does not encourage selfishness. It encourages balance. It teaches us to be kind without becoming vulnerable to exploitation. It teaches us to help others without abandoning ourselves. True strength is not found in endless sacrifice. True strength is found in knowing when to give, when to refuse, when to stay, and when to walk away. If you are enjoying these Stoic lessons and want more wisdom that strengthens the mind and transforms the way you see life, subscribe to the channel and become part of this growing community. Together, we are learning how to live with greater purpose, discipline, and inner peace. Part 4. One of the most overlooked consequences of excessive kindness is that it can quietly destroy your confidence. Confidence is built when you honor your own decisions, protect your values, and trust your judgment. However, when you constantly place the desires of others above your own, you begin sending yourself a dangerous message. That message says your needs are less important than everyone else's. Over time, this belief becomes part of your identity. You stop trusting yourself. You seek permission before making decisions. You hesitate before expressing your opinions. You become afraid of taking up space in your own life. The Stoics understood that self-respect is the foundation of a strong character. A person who cannot respect themselves will struggle to earn the respect of others. Confidence is not arrogance. Confidence is the quiet belief that your thoughts, needs, and values deserve consideration. Many people lose years of their lives because they mistake self-sacrifice for virtue. They believe that constantly putting themselves last makes them good people. Yet every sacrifice has a cost. Every ignored need leaves a mark. Eventually, they look back and realize they have spent more time living for others than living for themselves. Another danger of excessive kindness is that it can attract relationships built on dependency rather than respect. Healthy relationships involve mutual support. Both individuals contribute. Both individuals care. Both individuals give and receive. Unhealthy relationships operate differently. One person gives endlessly while the other takes endlessly. The relationship survives because one side carries all the weight. At first, the giver may feel needed. They may enjoy being the source of support. But over time, dependency replaces appreciation. The relationship becomes exhausting rather than fulfilling. Stoicism teaches that healthy connections should strengthen both people involved. If a relationship consistently drains your energy while providing little in return, it deserves careful evaluation. Many people fear losing relationships if they establish boundaries. Ironically, the opposite is often true. Healthy people respect boundaries. Manipulative people resist them. When you establish limits, you quickly discover who values you and who merely values access to you. This realization can be painful, but it is also liberating. It allows you to invest your time and energy in relationships built on mutual respect. Excessive kindness can also create a fear of rejection. Many people become trapped in a cycle where every action is designed to avoid criticism. They agree with opinions they do not share. They tolerate behavior they dislike. They remain silent when they should speak. The fear of rejection becomes stronger than the desire for authenticity. The Stoics viewed external approval as unreliable. They understood that public opinion changes constantly. One day people praise you. The next day they criticize you. Building your identity around approval is like building a house on shifting sand. True peace comes from living according to your principles. It comes from knowing that you acted with integrity regardless of how others responded. A powerful question to ask yourself is this: if nobody became angry, disappointed, or upset, what choices would I make differently today? For many people, the answer reveals how much of their life is controlled by fear. Fear disguised as kindness is still fear. Wisdom requires recognizing the difference between genuine compassion and approval-seeking behavior. One comes from strength. The other comes from insecurity. The Stoics encouraged people to become independent thinkers. They understood that freedom begins in the mind. A person who depends on approval can never be truly free. As you continue this journey of self-discovery, remember that boundaries are not walls. Boundaries are guidelines that protect your energy, values, and peace of mind. They allow kindness to remain healthy instead of becoming destructive. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is not to become selfish. The goal is to become wise. Wise enough to help without being exploited. Wise enough to care without being consumed. Wise enough to love others without abandoning yourself. If these Stoic lessons are helping you see your life from a new perspective, subscribe to the channel and join thousands of others who are committed to personal growth, mental strength, and self-mastery. Every lesson you learn today has the power to transform your future. Part 5. There comes a moment in many people's lives when they realize that their kindness has not brought them peace. Instead, it has brought exhaustion. They have spent years being available to everyone, supporting everyone, helping everyone, and solving everyone's problems. Yet despite all their efforts, they feel empty. This realization can be painful because it challenges a belief they have carried for years. They believe that if they were kind enough, generous enough, and patient enough, life would reward them. They believed people would appreciate their sacrifices. They believed their goodness would guarantee respect. Life does not always work that way. The Stoics understood that virtue is valuable because it shapes your character, not because it guarantees rewards. The moment you expect kindness to produce specific outcomes, disappointment becomes inevitable. Some people will appreciate you. Others will exploit you. Some will support you. Others will disappear when you need them most. Your peace cannot depend on how others respond. One of the most powerful lessons in Stoicism is learning to separate what you can control from what you cannot. You can control your intentions. You can control your actions. You can control your character. You cannot control gratitude, loyalty, or recognition from other people. Many individuals become trapped in a cycle of overgiving because they secretly hope their sacrifices will earn love. They believe that if they do enough, people will finally value them. This mindset creates endless frustration because genuine love cannot be purchased through self-sacrifice. People who truly care about you do not require you to destroy yourself to earn their affection. Another hidden danger of excessive kindness is that it often delays personal transformation. Growth usually requires difficult decisions. It requires discomfort. It requires prioritizing long-term goals over short-term approval. However, many people remain stuck because they fear upsetting others. They stay in jobs they hate because leaving might disappoint someone. They remain in toxic relationships because ending them feels cruel. They abandon dreams because pursuing them could create conflict. Years pass. Opportunities disappear. Regret begins to grow. The Stoics frequently reflected on the shortness of life. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that every day could be his last. This perspective was not meant to create fear. It was meant to create urgency. Life is too short to spend it living according to someone else's expectations. Imagine reaching the end of your life and realizing that most of your major decisions were made to avoid criticism. Imagine discovering that fear controlled your choices more than wisdom did. This is why Stoicism emphasizes courage. Courage allows you to remain kind without becoming a prisoner of other people's opinions. Courage allows you to pursue your purpose even when others do not understand it. Another lesson worth remembering is that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your energy. Many kind-hearted individuals treat everyone the same. They give equal effort to people who support them and people who drain them. This approach often leads to frustration. Wise people understand that trust should be earned. Access should be earned. Time should be earned. Your energy is valuable. Your attention is valuable. Your life is valuable. You are not obligated to invest heavily in relationships that consistently damage your peace of mind. You are not required to tolerate disrespect in the name of kindness. You are not responsible for fixing every broken situation around you. One of the most liberating realizations is understanding that boundaries are an act of self-respect. They are not punishments. They are not acts of hostility. They are clear statements about what you will and will not accept. When you establish boundaries, some people will leave. This can feel painful at first. However, those departures often reveal an important truth. Many individuals were attached to your usefulness, not to you. The people who genuinely value you will adapt. They will respect your limits. They will continue appreciating your presence even when you are no longer endlessly available. The Stoics understood that quality matters more than quantity. A few meaningful relationships are more valuable than countless superficial ones. A few trustworthy friends are more valuable than many opportunistic acquaintances. As you continue growing, remember that your kindness should be guided by wisdom. Give freely when appropriate. Help when you can. Support those you care about. But never forget that your own well-being matters too. A strong person is not someone who sacrifices themselves endlessly. A strong person is someone who knows how to balance compassion with self-respect. If you are enjoying this journey into Stoic wisdom, subscribe to the channel and become part of a community dedicated to strength, discipline, and personal growth. The lessons you learn today can shape the person you become tomorrow. Part 6. One of the greatest mistakes kind people make is believing that everyone deserves unlimited chances. While forgiveness is a virtue, endless tolerance can become a weakness. There is an important difference between giving someone an opportunity to change and allowing them to repeat the same harmful behavior over and over again. Many people remain trapped in painful situations because they keep hoping others will become different. They ignore warning signs. They overlook repeated betrayals. They convince themselves that one more chance will finally produce a different result. The Stoics understood that wisdom requires accepting reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. If someone repeatedly demonstrates a lack of respect, integrity, or responsibility, their actions reveal their character far more clearly than their promises ever will. A wise person pays attention to patterns. They observe behavior. They learn from experience. Kindness should never require you to ignore reality. Another way excessive kindness can ruin your life is by causing you to absorb other people's negativity. Many compassionate individuals feel responsible for everyone's emotional state. When someone is angry, they try to fix it. When someone is sad, they feel obligated to carry the burden. When someone is disappointed, they blame themselves. This creates an exhausting cycle. The truth is that every person is responsible for managing their own emotions. You can offer support. You can provide encouragement. You can listen with empathy. But you cannot live another person's life for them. The Stoics taught that each individual controls their own judgments and reactions. Attempting to manage everyone's emotions is a task that no human being can successfully accomplish. Many kind-hearted people spend years carrying emotional weights that do not belong to them. They worry constantly. They overthink conversations. They feel guilty for things beyond their control. Eventually, their own peace disappears. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with stones. Every time someone experiences a problem, you add another stone. At first, the weight seems manageable. Over time, however, the burden becomes unbearable. This is exactly what happens when you assume responsibility for everyone else's happiness. One of the most freeing realizations in life is understanding that you are not responsible for saving everyone. You are responsible for living with integrity. You are responsible for acting with wisdom. You are responsible for managing your own character. That responsibility alone is challenging enough. Another hidden consequence of excessive kindness is that it can weaken resilience. Many people become so focused on protecting others from discomfort that they forget discomfort is often necessary for growth. Parents sometimes rescue children from every consequence. Friends constantly solve each other's problems. Leaders protect people from every challenge. While these actions may appear compassionate, they can prevent development. The Stoics believed adversity was one of life's greatest teachers. Challenges reveal character. Difficulties build strength. Obstacles create wisdom. When you constantly remove every struggle from another person's path, you may unintentionally prevent them from becoming stronger. Sometimes the kindest action is not rescuing someone. Sometimes the kindest action is allowing them to face reality and learn from it. This principle applies to your own life as well. Excessive kindness toward yourself can become indulgence. Excessive kindness toward others can become enabling. Wisdom lies in balance. Another lesson from Stoicism is that true kindness comes from abundance, not desperation. A healthy person gives because they choose to give. An unhealthy person often gives because they fear rejection, criticism, or abandonment. The difference is significant. When kindness comes from abundance, it creates joy. When kindness comes from fear, it creates anxiety. Take a moment to reflect on your own motivations. Why do you help others? Why do you struggle to say no? Why do you tolerate situations that damage your peace? The answers may reveal patterns you have never noticed before. Many people discover that their kindness is driven by a desire to avoid conflict. Others discover it is driven by a need for validation. Some realize they have spent years trying to earn love that should never have required earning. Awareness is powerful because it allows transformation. The Stoics encouraged constant self-reflection. They believed growth begins when we examine our thoughts honestly. The more aware you become, the more intentional your actions become. You stop reacting automatically. You begin choosing consciously. You stop saying yes out of guilt. You begin saying yes because it aligns with your values. You stop tolerating disrespect out of fear. You begin protecting your dignity with confidence. You stop sacrificing your future to satisfy temporary expectations. This transformation does not happen overnight. It requires patience. It requires practice. Most importantly, it requires courage. The courage to disappoint others. The courage to establish boundaries. The courage to prioritize your well-being. The courage to live according to principle rather than pressure. As you continue your Stoic journey, remember that kindness is most powerful when combined with wisdom. Compassion without boundaries creates suffering. Compassion with wisdom creates strength. If these lessons are helping you build a stronger mindset, subscribe to the channel and join our growing community. Together, we are learning how to navigate life with greater resilience, discipline, and inner peace. Part 7. There is a reason the Stoics placed such importance on self-mastery. They understood that the greatest threats to a meaningful life often come from within. Excessive kindness is rarely caused by a lack of intelligence. More often, it is caused by an inability to manage emotions such as guilt, fear, and the desire for approval. Many people know they should establish boundaries. They know they should say no. They know they should stop allowing certain behaviors. Yet they continue doing the opposite because the emotional discomfort feels overwhelming. The fear of disappointing someone becomes stronger than the desire to protect themselves. This is why self-mastery matters. A Stoic does not allow temporary emotions to dictate permanent decisions. They recognize their feelings without becoming controlled by them. When guilt appears, they examine it. When fear appears, they confront it. When pressure appears, they remain calm. This ability creates freedom. Imagine how different your life would be if you no longer felt obligated to solve every problem, satisfy every expectation, or rescue every struggling person. Imagine the energy you would recover. Imagine the peace you would experience. Many people spend their entire lives seeking external validation. They want everyone to approve of them. They want everyone to like them. They want everyone to view them as generous, helpful, and kind. Unfortunately, this goal is impossible. No matter how kind you are, someone will criticize you. No matter how generous you are, someone will feel entitled to more. No matter how much you sacrifice, someone will remain dissatisfied. The Stoics accepted this reality. They understood that reputation is ultimately beyond our control. You can influence how others perceive you, but you cannot determine it completely. This is why they focused on character rather than popularity. Character remains under your control. Popularity does not. Many people destroy their peace chasing something they can never fully achieve. They become emotional prisoners of public opinion. One day they feel confident because someone praises them. The next day they feel devastated because someone criticizes them. Their emotional state depends entirely on circumstances outside their control. Stoicism offers a different path. Instead of asking, "Do people approve of me?" the Stoic asks, "Am I acting according to my principles?" This shift changes everything. When your identity is rooted in values rather than validation, criticism loses much of its power. You become less reactive, less anxious, less dependent on external approval. Another way excessive kindness can damage your life is by preventing you from developing healthy standards. People who fear being viewed as selfish often accept behavior that should never be tolerated. They remain in relationships that consistently hurt them. They continue friendships that offer little respect. They stay in environments that undermine their confidence. The longer this continues, the lower their standards become. Eventually, they begin accepting treatment that once would have seemed unacceptable. The Stoics believe that self-respect requires standards. You must decide what behaviors align with your values and what behaviors do not. Without standards, boundaries become impossible. Without boundaries, exploitation becomes inevitable. This does not mean becoming judgmental or unforgiving. It means recognizing your worth. A person who values themselves understands that not everyone deserves unlimited access to their life. Trust must be earned. Respect must be mutual. Relationships must be healthy. One of the most powerful truths about kindness is that it becomes more meaningful when it is intentional. If you say yes to everything, your yes loses value. If you give constantly, your generosity becomes expected rather than appreciated. Intentional kindness creates impact because it is offered thoughtfully rather than automatically. The Stoics encouraged moderation in all things. They understood that excess often transforms virtues into weaknesses. Courage becomes recklessness. Confidence becomes arrogance. Kindness becomes self-destruction. Balance is what preserves virtue. As you continue reflecting on these lessons, ask yourself an important question. Are you being kind because it reflects your values? Or are you being kind because you are afraid of what will happen if you stop? The answer reveals the difference between strength and weakness. True kindness comes from freedom. It comes from choice. It comes from wisdom. It does not come from fear. As you move forward, commit yourself to becoming both compassionate and strong. Refuse to believe that you must choose one or the other. The strongest individuals are often the most compassionate because their kindness is supported by confidence, discipline, and self-respect. If this message has inspired you, subscribe to the channel and become part of a growing community dedicated to Stoic wisdom, mental toughness, and personal transformation. Every lesson you learn brings you one step closer to mastering yourself and creating a life of purpose and peace. Part 8. Final Conclusion. As we reach the end of this journey, one truth should be clear. Kindness is not the enemy. Kindness is one of the most beautiful qualities a human being can possess. The problem arises when kindness exists without wisdom, boundaries, and self-respect. The world often teaches people that being good means saying yes to everything. It teaches that sacrifice is always noble. It teaches that putting yourself last is the highest form of virtue. The Stoics disagreed. They understood that a person who constantly neglects themselves eventually loses the ability to help anyone. They understood that strength and compassion are not opposites. In fact, true compassion requires strength. A weak person cannot protect others. A weak person cannot protect themselves. A weak person cannot stand firm when life becomes difficult. This is why Stoicism emphasizes balance. The goal is not to become cold-hearted. The goal is not to become selfish. The goal is to become wise enough to know when to give and when to withhold. When to stay and when to walk away. When to forgive and when to move on. Throughout this discussion, we have explored how excessive kindness can attract manipulation, encourage disrespect, create emotional exhaustion, weaken confidence, destroy boundaries, delay personal growth, increase resentment, and lead to disappointment. These lessons are not meant to make you distrust others. They are meant to help you protect yourself while remaining compassionate. Many people spend years trying to earn love by sacrificing themselves. They believe that if they give enough, help enough, and tolerate enough, they will finally be valued. But genuine respect cannot be earned through self-destruction. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect. Healthy friendships are built on mutual effort. Healthy communities are built on mutual responsibility. The Stoics believe that every individual possesses inherent worth. Your value does not depend on how much you sacrifice. Your worth does not depend on how many people approve of you. Your importance does not depend on how useful you are to others. You have value simply because you exist as a rational human being capable of virtue and wisdom. Once you truly understand this, everything changes. You stop begging for acceptance. You stop chasing validation. You stop apologizing for having needs. You stop feeling guilty for protecting your peace. You begin making decisions based on principles rather than pressure. You begin choosing relationships based on respect rather than dependency. You begin living according to your values rather than other people's expectations. This transformation is not easy. There will be moments when guilt appears. There will be moments when people criticize your boundaries. There will be moments when others accuse you of changing. And they will be correct. You are changing. You are becoming stronger. You are becoming wiser. You are becoming more intentional. Not everyone will like that transformation. Some people benefited from the old version of you. They benefited from your inability to say no. They benefited from your endless availability. They benefited from your fear of conflict. When you establish boundaries, those benefits disappear. Do not let their disappointment become your burden. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the opinions of others belong to them. Their reactions are their responsibility. Your responsibility is to act with wisdom, integrity, and self-respect. That is enough. One of the greatest gifts Stoicism offers is freedom. Freedom from unnecessary guilt. Freedom from the need for constant approval. Freedom from emotional dependence on other people. Freedom from the belief that your purpose is to satisfy everyone around you. Imagine waking up each day with a clear mind. Imagine helping others because you genuinely want to help, not because you feel obligated. Imagine being kind without being exploited. Imagine being compassionate without being consumed. Imagine being generous without becoming resentful. That is the balance the Stoics sought. That is the balance you can achieve. The journey begins with a simple realization. Your kindness deserves protection. Your energy deserves protection. Your peace deserves protection. Your future deserves protection. Never forget that boundaries do not make you selfish. Boundaries make your kindness sustainable. Without boundaries, generosity becomes exhaustion. Without boundaries, compassion becomes suffering. Without boundaries, kindness becomes self-destruction. But when kindness is combined with wisdom, it becomes one of the most powerful forces in the world. It strengthens relationships. It builds character. It inspires trust. It creates peace. As you move forward from this message, challenge yourself to examine your life honestly. Where have you been giving too much? Where have you been accepting too little? Where have you allowed fear to disguise itself as kindness? Where have you neglected your own needs in pursuit of approval? Answer these questions with courage. Your future depends on it. The Stoics believe that every day offers an opportunity for improvement. Every sunrise provides a chance to become wiser than you were yesterday. Every challenge provides an opportunity to strengthen your character. You do not need to transform your life overnight. Start small. Say no when necessary. Protect your time. Protect your energy. Protect your values. Respect yourself. Trust yourself. And remember that true kindness begins with wisdom. If you enjoyed this lesson and want more powerful Stoic teachings that help you master your emotions, strengthen your mindset, and transform your life, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Join our growing community of people committed to discipline, resilience, confidence, and self-mastery. Leave a comment below and share which lesson impacted you the most. Until next time, stay strong, stay disciplined, and continue walking the Stoic path.